many tanks does this guy have?
Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week I checked out Afterburn, and this 2025 film was directed by J.J. Perry and stars Dave Bautista, Samuel L. Jackson, and Olga Kurylenko, among others, of course. So what is the story of Afterburn? Well, this one does take place in a post-apocalyptic world, and in this world there was like a giant solar flare that knocked out all of the technology, and then of course humans just kind of destroyed every government in the world, and now, everywhere is ruled by warlords. And this follows Dave Bautista's character, and in the normal world he was a treasure hunter, and in the post-apocalyptic world he's also a treasure hunter, and he's the best at what he does. He can find anything for anyone. And there is this warlord in London, or at least England, and that is Samuel L. Jackson. And so he hires Dave Bautista to go and get him the Mona Lisa from Europe somewhere. And of course, initially he's against it, but he kind of, ups the ante and makes him a deal he can't refuse. And so he, goes into Europe to find the Mona Lisa. Along the way, he does have to deal with this warlord that is tracking him down and, wants the thing for himself. And of course, there's, cannibals and other gangs and whatnot. And so will Dave Bautista be able to return the item to Samuel L. Jackson? Well, for that, you gotta watch the movie and find out. Alright, so let's discuss Afterburn. Well, with this one, I originally decided to press play because I saw that other Dave Bautista movie, what's it called? In the Lost Land, I think it is. I think Leo reviewed it and, he said some good things about it. So I decided to press play and enjoyed it, certainly. And with this one, it's also Dave Bautista at the end of the world. So I thought it could be, a fun little romp. And it is him just, going through the end of the world, and that certainly has some fun elements, seeing all the kind of different factions, and then, seeing how he has to get there or there, and, having a little adventure. It certainly can be fun, and there are, fun things about it. I would say Dave Bautista, he is kind of more of an action star. I know he used to be a wrestler, but there is some good fights in this one. Certainly the first fight, I really enjoyed that one. That one was so cool and stylish and just kind of little unique elements with explosives here or there. And then there's a few other, fights that are pretty fun. There's also kind of just interesting things to see in it, going around from here to there to see, what's the post-apocalyptic world look like. Certainly can be interesting as well. So ultimately, it's just a little adventure through the end of the world in Europe. Also with this movie, there's quite a few familiar faces. Of course, Olga, Samuel, and Dave are all kind of really well-known actors, but they also have Christopher Hughes from the Game of Thrones series. He's the big tall guy with the red beard, and he's in it, so I was like, oh wow, he's getting another performance. And then there's a woman named Eden Epstein who is in C, which is I think another Dave Bautista movie, or not movie, show. I think he's the bad guy in that one. And so it's like, oh, she's got some more work too. And of course, some other ones here or there. So, you get to see a lot of famous faces. Certainly ones that you might be even surprised by. What else can I say? Certainly this one kind of is just like some fun if you're willing to, turn your brain off. After all, it's just Dave Bautista doing some stuff, driving through Europe. And then also, they have lots of, explosions every so often. They have tanks. All of the warlords have tanks from, I guess, World War II. And so he's always, driving away from these tanks, and they're always, shooting and stuff. And he's, going off ramps above the missiles. And I don't know, it can be dumb fun if you turn your brain off. And that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, ultimately, I gotta say it's pretty generic. There's nothing unique about it. There's nothing really kind of special about it. It's just Dave Bautista kind of driving around Europe, and, things happen to him, certainly, but at the same time, nothing that you're going to really remember or even, stand out. And what else? With the story, like I said, just stuff happens to him, but everything is like very convenient. Like 3 or 4 times in this movie, they walk into a building and the floor plan will be, laid out in the first room that they go into. And it's like, oh, we're here, we gotta go over here. Or there'll be a map of whatever, and people leave their journals to be discovered. And everything is just like really convenient how it all kind of works out. They even like walk into this one building where they will need electricity, and oh, guess what? There's solar panels. So of course there is electricity. And just stuff like that, where it's just like nothing is particularly deep, nothing is particularly necessarily meaningful. It's just kind of stuff happening. Other than that, this movie is clearly just to make money, because they have like their car and it's like a rally kind of truck or something like that. And so it's kind of like this more custom made thing, but then it has like a Chevrolet, logo right on the front, and it's just product placement the whole way through. And there's a bunch of other product placement that's, very obvious. I'm sure everyone, in it is making a buck or two as well. So it just seems like everyone's just kind of making money. Of course, I'm sure, the product placement advertisers are, paying for it. But yeah, it's just kind of seemed like it was not very like inspired. It was kind of missing that heart and soul that some of these things go into. And what else? I did mention the car. Like I told you, the car is, like I said, just product placement, but at the same time, it's like a ridiculous car. Like it's like I said, a rally truck, but it's also bulletproof, and it's just so weird how that's introduced. So he's like driving the car and like people are shooting at him. He's like, oh, it really is bulletproof. But at the same time, like no one's ever mentioned anything about that. So like, why are you saying, oh, it really is? Like you didn't believe someone before. Maybe that was kind of cut content or something that they kind of forgot that they had cut. But yeah, it's just like, seems like everyone's just trying to make money on this one. Also, with this one, I gotta say the acting is certainly subpar from everyone, I would say. Like Dave Bautista, like I like the guy, like I like him in supporting roles. Certainly I've seen him in, Blade Runner 2049, in the Guardian of the Galaxy series. Like he's great as a supporting character where he can kind of be more one-dimensional, but also more humorous. Or even in like, Blade 2049, I guess he's kind of serious, but he's good in those roles. He's not really a leading man, and his acting chops don't really allow him to be. So his acting is just subpar, and I think that's the highest kind of quality I can go for. I even think I saw him look at the camera a few times, and that just, doesn't show kind of quality acting. In fact, I would say everyone kind of does a bad job with this one. Samuel L. Jackson, he's doing his thing, but he's not, particularly into the role, I would say. None of the other supporting characters, like Olga, certainly does not seem like she's really into the role. And then who's the bad guy? Christopher from Game of Thrones. Like I liked his character in the Game of Thrones. He was funny, kind of comedic. But with this one, he kind of has that same tone. So he's not like a serious threat. He's like a comedic joke of a threat. And so he's supposed to be like the warlord, right? But he's doing these facial expressions that are just like comedic, and it's just, I don't know, kind of ruins the vibe that I think the character should be going for. And so the acting just overall just adds the kind of like a subpar experience in this movie. So would I recommend this movie? Well, maybe as like a background movie or something, but to sit down and watch it straight out, you'd have to be able to turn your brain off and just try to have some dumb fun. And even then, how much you'll have, I think depends on, certain elements, certainly. And with that being said, I would probably say this one's very skippable. And so for a rating, well, I'm going to give it the 3.4 because I thought it was very meh. In fact, probably double meh. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.